Wer, wen oder wem. If you want to ask about a person in German, you would have to use one of those question words. But why are they in different colors and why do they have different endings? You will find answers to these questions in this video together with lots of examples and tips and tricks. Die Fragewörter wer, wen oder wem. Fragewörter are question words. Actually, these are pronouns because that's why they can change. Pronouns can change the endings. In English, it's just the question who. I know, for wen and wem you can also ask whom in certain situations, but since I'm not an English teacher, we just want to keep it simple and use who. The most important information first. Wer is the nominative case, who in nominative. Wen is who in accusative case in blue, and wem is who in dative case in green. Let's start with the nominative case. Some special features. Wer is the subject of the sentence. Why? Because the nominative is always the subject case. And wer stands always on the first position. You will always find this wer on the first position of the sentence. And the verb is always conjugated in third person singular. Why is that? Because the verb, as you know, is conjugated according to the subject. And because wer is the subject, wer acts like er, sie, es or man. So this is the third person singular. So that's why you need to conjugate the verb also in the third person singular. Machen wir ein paar Beispiele. Wer ist der Mann dort? Wer ist der Mann dort? Who is that man there? Oder wer hat dich gestern angerufen? Who did call you yesterday? Who called you yesterday? Oder wer hat dir die E-Mail geschrieben? Wer hat dir die E-Mail geschrieben? Who wrote you the email? Let's look at the cases. We see this wer always on the first position. Wer in red is the nominative case. This is the subject. So wer ist der Mann dort? Der Mann is actually the object, but it's also in nominative, and der Mann is nominative as well. Why? Because sein can have two nominatives, one for the subject and one for the object. Second example, second sentence. Wer hat dich gestern angerufen? Here we have wer as well the subject. Denn anrufen, jemanden anrufen ist ein Verb mit Akkusativ. And therefore the object dich is in accusative case. And the third sentence, there are two objects. Dir und die E-Mail. You see dir in green, that's dative case. And the email is an accusative case. Why? Because schreiben can be used when used with two objects. The person is in dative case and the thing is in accusative case. Let's look at the verb conjugation. Wer ist der Mann dort? Wer hat dich gestern angerufen? And that's a sentence in perfect. Hat is the auxiliary verb. Und wer hat die E-Mail geschrieben? And here you can see, again, that the verb is always conjugated according to the subject. And because what I said before, wer is like third person singular conjugation, therefore you always have this third person singular conjugation in the verb. Wer ist, third person singular of sein. Wer hat, er, sie, es hat. And also wer hat for the third sentence. If you want to answer those questions, you have to keep one thing in mind. The person you're asking is also the subject in the answer. So for example, here the second sentence. Wer hat dich gestern angerufen? You could just use a name. Max, Lisa. Or you could use a pronoun. Sie oder er. Max hat mich angerufen. Er hat mich angerufen. Lisa hat mich angerufen. Sie hat mich angerufen. Du hast mich angerufen. And as you can see, the person we ask about is also the subject in nominative case in the answer. All right, nominative is done. Let's go to accusative. Accusative also have some special features, which is accusative, of course, is the direct object. It's accusative, which means it cannot be the subject, it has to be an object, and it is the direct object. It stands mostly on first position. Mostly, why only mostly? Because sometimes you can also use it with prepositions. And this means that first the preposition comes and then this wen. Beispiele. Wen filmst du gerade? Wen filmst du gerade? Who are you filming right now? Who are you recording right now? Oder wen hast du gestern angerufen? Wen hast du gestern angerufen? Who did you call yesterday? Oder wen hat Maria geheiratet? Wen hat Maria geheiratet? Who did Maria marry? Let's look at the cases here. First sentence, wen filmst du gerade? Whenever you see this du has to be the subject, because du is personal pronoun in nominative case. And therefore, the object here is this wen. Also wen is in accusative. Wen hast du gestern angerufen? Same thing. And du is the subject, therefore this who here has to be the object in accusative case, therefore wen. And the same goes for the third sentence. Also the verb conjugation here, just a small reminder, again according to the subject, so wen filmst du, du subject, filmst is the verb conjugation, wen hast du angerufen, und wen hat Maria geheiratet. Here the same thing, when you answer those questions, for example, wen filmst du? You could just use a name, right? Ich filme Max, ich filme Lisa, or just Max and Lisa. Or you could use personal pronouns. Ich filme ihn. Ich filme sie. And here sie as well. The answer for this person you're asking in these questions, the person in the answer is also in accusative. Wen filmst du gerade? Ich filme ihn. Ihn, Akkusativ, Personalpronomen. Now mentioned in the feature, wen can also be used together with Präpositionen. Let's look at some examples. Für wen hast du das Ticket gekauft? Für wen hast du das Ticket gekauft? For who or who did you buy the ticket for? Oder auf wen wartet ihr? Auf wen wartet ihr? Who are you waiting for? Wie ihr, you guys, Plural. Und an wen denkst du gerade? An wen denkst du gerade? Who are you thinking about right now? Here the same thing. And we have du, ihr, and du, always the subject. And in the first sentence, you see that we have two objects in accusative. Why? Because für, this preposition für always requires the accusative case. So it's für wen has to be in accusative. And then kaufen. Kaufen needs a direct object. Ich kaufe etwas, I buy something. And therefore this ticket. So here we have two accusative case. One because of the verb needs a direct object, and this wen is an accusative because of the preposition für. And for auf wen wartet ihr und an wen denkst du, those are fixed terms, and these are verbs with prepositions. Warten auf plus Akkusativ und denken an plus Akkusativ. So here you see it, für, auf und an, these are the prepositions which do require accusative in these situations. Therefore, this wer has to be wen. Good, accusative is also done. Let's go to dative, wem. Here the important features are, it's the indirect object. Accusative, direct object. Dative is the indirect object. And then also stands mostly on the first position, same like accusative. Why? Because of the same reason, it can also be used together with a preposition. Beispiele. Wem gehört die Tasche? Wem gehört die Tasche? Who does the bag belong to? Oder, wem müsst ihr morgen helfen? Wem müsst ihr morgen helfen? Who do you have to help tomorrow? Oder, wem hast du meinen Stift gegeben? Wem hast du meinen Stift gegeben? Who did you give my pen to? Let's look at the cases. The first one, first sentence, wem gehört die Tasche? This is a special one. Gehören und gefallen, these are the most two important ones. who are a little bit special because the person is not the subject anymore. The thing, die Tasche here, is the subject. If you're not sure about these verbs, gefallen, gehören und schmecken zum Beispiel, we have a video just about this topic. Here in the card is the link. The second sentence, wem müsst ihr morgen helfen? Ihr ist das Subjekt, helfen ist ein Dativverb. Helfen jemandem, to help somebody, this somebody has to be in Dativ. So we ask for the person, therefore this who also has to be in Dativ. And wem hast du meinen Stift gegeben? Geben, to give, is again one of those verbs which can have two objects, the person in Dativ and the thing in Akkusativ. So whom and to whom did you give my pen? And the same thing goes for the verb conjugation, die Tasche Subjekt gehört, ihr müsst, müssen is a modal verb, helfen, und du hast gegeben, hast is the auxiliary verb. Here also, when you want to answer those questions, the person you ask about is in the answer also in Dativ. Wem gehört die Tasche? Who does this bag belong to? You could say ihm oder ihr. Again, you could use names, Hans oder Lisa, but if you use pronouns, then you see the dative. Ihm, die Tasche gehört ihm, oder die Tasche gehört ihr. Same goes for, wem müsst ihr morgen helfen? Wir müssen morgen unserer Oma helfen, oder wir müssen morgen ihm helfen, wir müssen morgen ihr helfen. So if you have a wem question, the person you ask about is also in Dativ in the answer. And for dative, this wem as well, it can come with a Präposition. Zum Beispiel, mit wem gehst du auf das Festival? Mit wem gehst du auf das Festival? Who are you going to the festival with? With whom are you going to the festival? Oder bei wem hat Timo übernachtet? Bei wem hat Timo übernachtet? Who did Timo stay with? Kind of where did he spend the night? Und von wem hast du das Handy? Von wem hast du das Handy bekommen? This bekommen is to get. Who gave you the phone? Literally, by whom did you get this phone? This bekommen can be omitted here. It's more common we just say, von wem hast du das Handy? We just omit this bekommen. When we look at the cases, here in the first sentence we have du, of course, Subjekt. Mit wem gehst du auf das Festival? We have auf das Festival, which is in Akkusativ. Why? Because of the preposition auf, where to go, going somewhere. This wohin, answering this wohin, this is auf das Festival. And the third one as well, von wem hast du das Handy? Bekommen, etwas bekommen is Akkusativ. And then this wem is in Dativ. Why? Because of these prepositions. Mit, always plus Dativ. Bei, always plus Dativ. And von, also always plus Dativ. Before we come to the bonus tips, here's some Hausaufgaben. Homework. Translate this sentence into German. Who did Max call yesterday? Who did Max call yesterday? Is it, wer hat Max gestern angerufen? Oder, wen hat Max gestern angerufen? Write down in the comments which answer you think is the proper translation for the sentence, for the question, who did Max call yesterday? Bonus tip! First one, just a little quick tip when you, in case you forget exactly why, what is this wer, wen, wem again? I know everything is who, but which case again? It's actually easy when you look at the definite article. Wer is nominative, masculine definite article is der. Wen, accusative, masculine definite article is den. And wem, dative, the masculine definite article is dem. So when we just look at the endings, nominative here, you always have this er, accusative en, und dative is em. So we always have the same endings actually as the definite article masculine. And the second tip is you can actually use those questions to ask for the case. If you have a sentence and you're not exactly sure what is the subject, what is the object, and in which case, then you can use those questions as well. Let's take this sentence here. Paul gibt Lena einen Stift. Paul gibt Lena einen Stift. Paul is das Subjekt. Subjekt is always a nominative. So we can ask, wer? Wer gibt Lena einen Stift? Who gives a pen to Lena? Answer, Paul. And then we have the subject. Now for accusative, it's actually easier to use was instead of wen, because wen is asking for a person. And was is asking for a thing. And for most situations, you will have to ask was if you want to ask for the accusative object. We take the same sentence, Paul gibt Lena einen Stift. Now we ask, was gibt Paul Lena? What does he give to her? The answer, einen Stift. Accusativ. And for dative, same sentence, Paul gibt Lena einen Stift. Whom or to whom gives Paul his pen? Or who gives Paul the pen to? Answer, Lena. So, wem gibt Paul einen Stift? Lena. Gibt Lena einen Stift. And if you are still here now and you want to know more about the German cases all in detail, we have here a small playlist with 8 videos only about German cases. Nominativ, Akkusativ, Dativ and Genitiv. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen, bis zum nächsten Mal und tschüss.